Hey sis, welcome back to Her Renewed Mind. Or if you're joining for the first time, welcome. You are in a safe space, a place where you're going to receive encouragement for your beautiful mind. And I'm so excited to welcome Whitney Jude. Hey, to Her
Hey,
Renewed Mind. Welcome, sis.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yay. Thank you for saying yes, and you're welcome. Let me answer you back. You're welcome. And thank you for saying yes. And so Whitney and I met at church. We haven't had like a long conversation, but like, hey, sis. And actually, she knows my daughter as well. I guess, have y'all worked y'all have worked in K Kids kind of
Yeah.
together. Yes. And then in Whitney's, my daughter works with an organization, part-time job that Whitney used to work with, and actually the location where you used to work. So I just thought that was precious because when Kyla first started, she had a friend in you. So thank you
Good.
so
That's
much.
good.
Look,
She's
it
so
always
good.
feels good when a mom, can find and knows that their child is safe and has somebody that has their back. So thank you for that. But yeah, so Whitney has some new news. She's transitioned, and so we're going to talk about a little bit about that. But we're going to go ahead and get started in the podcast. And Whitney, I'd love for you to share, like with our viewers and listeners, who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, like you said, my name's Whitney Jude. I first and foremost am a lover of Jesus, lover of adventure, lover of travel, the
Yeah,
outdoors, people, an advocate for education, and just a lover of life in general.
yeah,
Yeah. Those are my adjectives, I guess, or however you want to say it. I just left, like you said, transitioning literally in this week to a new position. I actually had to write the name down because it's so new, but I work for the state in the Education and Labor Cabinet in the Office of Adult Education as their Family Literacy Senior Coordinator. So it's like very long name.
yeah.
I was formerly a teacher, and then uh, after teaching, I worked at the YMCA, where I was the early learning readiness director, oversaw family literacy there, and also oversaw some grant work with immigrant and refugee populations. So, yeah, that is. I'm a wife, a
Yes.
sister. My husband's really cool and adventurous like me. So that's kind of how we like connected, and I'm an aunt. That's probably one of my biggest labels. I take it very seriously. So that's kind of who I am.
I love it. I love it. And congrats on being an aunt. I don't know how young your or old your niece or nephew is. Is a nephew?
I have a niece. I have two nieces, a nephew, and then Rick has like a bunch on his side. So we got a lot.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's always good. And I like I said, just knowing that there's someone that's an advocate, so on behalf of the parents, thank you guys
Yeah.
looking out, for the nieces and nephews. That means, so much. And that's amazing. I love that you said it's like the greatest title, that you have and that you take it seriously.
Yeah.
So good. So you guys, like, as I mentioned, we haven't had like a long length of conversation. We met at church, but we do follow each other online. And whenever I'm in your space or I see you, I see joy. And like watching you online and what you post, like your pictures, your adventures, your travel, I'm like, Whitney is doing her thing. And I love how you live life. And thank you for, like, you don't have to share that, of course, social media is what it is. But I was attracted to that. I'm like, she's out, her and her hubby and her family, they're out here just enjoying themselves and having a good time. And that blessed me. And I'm like, okay, Candice, you need to like enjoy life. So were you always like growing up, were you always adventurous or how did you kind of move into that? You said you enjoy outdoors. I'm assuming you were outside when you were a kid. How was it growing up?
Yeah. So I didn't know this answer necessarily. So I talked to my mom a little bit and I was like, Mom, was I always like this? And she was like, no. She was like, when you were little, we put you in soccer and you hated it. You hated sweating and running. And she was like, you were like so shy and timid, like people wasn't your like the yeah, none of that. So that was when I was smaller though. And then I like had to go back in my memory, like when did I really start liking outside and adventure? And it had to been I was friends with all the boys. I was a real tomboy in elementary school, and so I would play outside every day after school. Um, and I was such a rule follower, and I was so afraid of breaking the rules. But for some reason, when it came to like adventure, there was no like, there were not rules. I just was like, it's okay because I'm just in nature. Like, it's not a big deal. So I can remember like in elementary school climbing under a fence in our neighborhood. It was a factory's like backyard with the woods, and we like built a fort, me and all the guys. And I don't know, I've just always lived outside, and I don't know, just nature to me feels like there are no rules, and like you can enjoy it and just be in it just as it is. And so I don't know when it all really came about or like why, but I've always just had this. I've always been pretty wild and needed to figure out how to navigate that because it's come out in all the wrong ways sometimes. But nature and adventure and like adrenaline rushes have been the way that I could focus that in, I guess, and do it in a healthy way. So I don't know when or how or why, but it's just always been on my heart. And for me, like nature and then like jumping off waterfalls, it's just so. I almost tell myself sometimes, like, God created this waterfall just so I could jump off of it. And I think, thank you, God, you know?
Powerful.
So I don't know.
No, I know. Right. And I think it's kind of hard to explain sometimes, but you know how you feel.
Yeah.
Like and I could see it as you were talking. I'm like, I feel like there's just welling up in your heart. And I think because I resonate with that because now I'm like I haven't jumped off, like into a waterfall. Do I say yet, Lord? I don't know. I haven't done that. But I do rock with you when it comes to like being in nature and being outside. Not like in these temperatures right now for
No.
me. For me. Okay, you agree?
Yeah, no, I'm not. No.
But if it's a little bit warmer, I think you're free. Like
That's, yes, wholeheartedly. Like, it's perfect. My favorite thing is sleeping under the stars.
so good.
Yeah, my mom used to think, I hope she doesn't listen to this, but she used to be like, I would come home. We worked at an adventure camp, and so we'd sleep under the stars every night with our teenagers that we were like taking on these trips. And I'd come home, and I did not want to sleep inside, so I'd literally take a mattress on her back porch and sleep on her back porch. So weird that I say that out loud now, but I would go put my hammock up in my backyard, not right now, but like summer,
Oh,
and sleep under the stars and just I don't know. I just think God created nature to be like that, and we just a lot of people and sometimes myself, we don't choose to like enjoy it in the right ways. So I just have told myself over the years, like, you're gonna do this like the way God intended for you to do it.
so good.
Yeah.
So good. I hope I don't mess this quote up, but I heard someone say, like, the reason, once we're in nature, we're attracted to it, we run to it, we feel how we feel in it is because it's like God's perfect, because it's him and his perfect creation, right? And I even think about because I really enjoy the parks. We're in Louisville, Kentucky. I think my viewers know that, my listeners, viewers know that. We have a lot of parks. We have
Mhm.
tons. I don't know if we have the most, but we have a lot
Yeah.
in this little city slash big city of ours that we're trying to be. And even like the man-made ones that I go to, and I'm like, okay, man fashioned like the design of it, but the things that are there were created by you, and you gave man or woman, the creative capability to do that. So it's still you anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but I resonated with that when I heard it. It's like being in nature, that is God's perfect creation.
Yeah. Yeah. And we leave it, and a lot of times we talk about leaving it alone, and just like we talked about at camp, like leave no trace. Like you don't leave trace of being there. And I think about that with like people and relationships. Like we're not to be like God created us the way we're meant to be, and just like nature. And so it's really cool to walk around the world thinking about humans being like, we're all a part of it, you know? So like, leave no trace, like leave people as they are and let God do his work.
That's so good. Leave, that might be the title of this episode, Leave No Trace. So good. So that's such a great segue because I think about the work that you've been doing, like, and I'll put in the notes, like with littles. I like saying littles. I don't know if you use that language, but with
Yes.
young people.
Yeah.
And so, how did your love for young people come about? And then, how do you leave no trace in the work that you've done and that you will continue to do around
Mhm.
early childhood education and working with families? That was a long question, but
No, it's okay. It's all good. I got it. Well, I got into education. I did Teach for America. I went down to Mississippi and taught for 3 years there.
okay,
Um,
pause. Sorry,
yes,
I was like, that's too good. So, where are you from? Where did you grow
I'm
up?
from Frankfort, Kentucky.
Okay, so that's our capital, guys. Okay, that's our capital. That is wild that now you're back.
Yeah, I always wanted to live in Louisville, and here we are. I
Yes.
somehow made it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I taught in 3 different states, for, roughly 8 years. I taught at a mission school down in Eastern Kentucky. That's a whole 'nother, like, story. It's a really cool place. It's called Redbird Mission. Students from different countries will come there and, live in the dorms, the high school students, and then they'll be able to get a visa to go to college. But then the students who live in Beverly, Kentucky, actually also go to the school. There's like clean water accessible there for families. It's like a Goodwill type store, a dentist office. So it's a mission, like a place where community can come and get the resources that they need. So that was a really cool experience. Rick and I lived there for 2 years.
And it's
So I was in education. I've taught K through 5 music and art when I was in Mississippi. I taught U.S. history and sociology at high school at Redbird, and then I've taught at JCPS like 4th grade. So kind of done K through 12 literally in my time. And you you realize in that, especially having so many different experiences and working with all the ages, that some of our babies need a lot of help, and they really need the help before they ever get to school. And so leaving teaching, I knew that and had that so on my heart, but didn't know when. You know how God puts things on our hearts, but we don't know like when we'll come back to it. But I knew I needed to like take a break from teaching at the time. Position at the Y came open. Um, Crazy enough, part of my testimony is there was a grant written, and this position just magically, I don't want to say magically, like the grant was written, but this position that hadn't been at the Y for years, since before COVID, came back. I contacted the director and was like, hey, I'm interested. And it was a big promotion pay wise. And then I was right back in education, but making a much broader impact and working with early learning readiness, which is what I realized through teaching was like what needed the most focus, in my opinion. And not only that, I always say like it's a generational cycle of things that are happening. And so we have adults who don't know how to be their child's first best teacher. And so in the program that I ran, the adult or caregiver always came with the child, and we helped educate the adult as the child was in the program. So God, I really think he like handpicked me for that. And that was such a good season. I'm really sad to see it go. And I fought God over moving to this next
yeah,
place.
yeah,
But that was also such a God thing. But so now I'm at the Labor and Education Cabinet in Frankfort, where I'll be working on a state level, working in what's called family literacy. So as I was in early learning readiness, I realized, okay, this is holistic. We need the holistic approach where we're working on the whole family and not just the child and not just the adult. So family literacy is basically you take maybe an adult who's getting their GED, and you also do a parenting class with them, and maybe you do an early learning class with their child, and you holistically educate the family. And so that will be my focus in Frankfurt, taking that type of programming across the state to different organizations. So it's just all wow, I haven't said it out loud until just now. So I haven't even seen my own circle, God's own circle, but yeah, he's wrapped it back around. I didn't apply for this gig. Someone heard a presentation and came up and was like, it was very funny. This is funny, and I'll be over this part, but she said, I would like to volunteer for your program you do now. I said, okay, here's my card. This lady, hilarious. I hope she listens this one day, but she wrote to me and was like, I don't actually need to volunteer, or I can't volunteer right now because I'm too busy because we need another person in our office.
Mhm.
Would you like to like apply for this position? So funny. So we had conversations and then they were like, we want to offer you the job. So it's been such a blessing. Big promotion here too. So God is just I can just I can always see God working, you know?
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. So
But
you were
that's my whole journey.
it's beautiful. And like you said, I can see God's hand in it. And so it's so powerful. And I love that in this moment, you've been able to say things out loud and actually he's highlighting things to you like, yep, I did that. And yep, I connected you this. And now you're back full circle. And this, like
Yeah.
every single experience, right? Like was leading you to this moment because I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, we need all of the stuff that you gained, all the stuff you gave, all of those ideas, and just who you are, what you give to families. Yeah, we need that infused at the state level
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even beyond. So I'm glad that she was at the presentation.
I know. It's so
Like,
crazy. I made a post on Facebook that day. This is how God so I post on Facebook and go back and look at it myself. I don't care like who looks at it. That's when
it's
you talk
your
about
it's your receipts. You got receipts, right?
yes, and so I went back and looked, and I made a post that day with the ladies that I presented with and said, "God is putting me in rooms with people that are like putting me in places and in rooms that I never thought I'd be in." And I didn't know what I was saying. Like that was on my heart that day. I had no idea what email was on its way. Um, so yeah, Facebook does wonder like God uses Facebook for me.
Yes,
I don't care what like I hope people get something from it, but like
we do.
yeah, well that's good.
And now even more because this message is going to go out too. So I love that, Whitney. So how was it growing up in terms of, I know you talked about like the child aspect of like your mom saying, no, you weren't feeling soccer, like you weren't, but then you got with these guys and you were outside. But in terms of like that education piece, was that like driven, I don't want to say driven hard, but I think you know where I'm getting at. Like, was your family like, yes, Whitney, school is important? Did you all do things at home to help you prepare? Were you an early learner, like growing up?
Yeah.
What did that look like for you?
That's a good question. Yes, I think it was super important. This is not me saying anything negative about my dad. My dad's not with us anymore, so I don't ever want to sound like that. But he didn't. He was taken out of school in after eighth grade to work for his family's business. Now, my dad was super successful, so it worked out for him. However, I think that was a drive for him and my mom to be super passionate about our education. I think it's really neat to look at family histories and see what becomes important to parents because of their childhood. So education was really important. My mom put me in the best preschool program that was in Frankfort, Kentucky at the time. Um, it was
What was that, 3 or 4? How old were you?
like 3 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Because I
like
did preschool too. And actually, okay, I was born in 81. I don't know why I said that. That doesn't really matter. But what matters is my brother and I were able to start the very first preschool program. I don't know if it was statewide, but
yeah.
whatever year we started, it was the first year that they had preschool.
Okay.
Okay. And then I went to kindergarten. Anyway, go ahead. It's about you.
Yeah, no, preschool really matters.
Yeah.
Um, so she put me in a really like a prestigious paid private, and I don't know how well off they were at the time. My dad just taking over his own business. So it was clearly very important though. So she put me in this preschool. Um, and then all throughout school was super important. This is so funny. I didn't miss a day of school from from the first day of first grade to the last day of eighth grade.
Which is
Yeah, so it was.
what was
I,
important.
school was so important to me, and I still am like that on myself, super hard on myself, and that's something God's working on me about. But yeah, school has always been so important, and our home. Um, my middle sister has got her master's degree. I'm working on my master's, so like it's just something that we've all,
Yeah.
yeah, taken upon ourselves, and it's, you should never stop learning. I don't care if it's like in school, but not everyone does well in school, and I completely advocate for those people who don't do well in school, and that's okay. But learning is so important. So yeah,
So how long were you at the Y?
I was at the Y for full time 3 years.
Okay. Is
Yeah, so I would work part time. I would always teach and then work part time at a residential camp in the summers, like living at camp.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then so overall, like with the Y, like maybe 8 years, but full time 3 years. Yeah.
Wow. I know you have plenty of stories, right? Like
Oh
you
my
have
God.
so many stories. But can you maybe share one, I guess, that just was a highlight for you, whether it's a family you were working with, a young person in the early learning, or even in summer camps, like that just blew you away and you were like, man, I was able to make an impact. I know I did not put this in the
It's
question
okay. It's okay.
because I know you got stories and people.
So many stories. So many stories. Um, shoot, these people impact me more than I ever impact them, though. Um,
Or you can look at it from that angle too.
yeah. Okay, that's good. Uh,
Uh,
I don't know. One of my favorite stories. We had so there's the West End YMCA, Republic Bank YMCA down on 18th Broadway, and we have a family come there. A grandmother, I don't want to say what she had, a stroke or an aneurysm, something, and she actually wasn't coming to the first few classes of early learning readiness. It was actually her son was bringing her grandson. And so I got to watch dad and son participate in this program. We don't have as many dads participate as we do moms or even grandmothers, but he came. I want to say either grandma made that nudge to
yeah.
like, hey, you need to do this, but we also give a free membership for participating. And so dad was already a member, and so this would be an incentive to get that membership for free. And this little boy had some maybe we'll call them tantrums. And so there's just some regulating things that we were working on throughout classes and things. And then later on, grandma starts attending class um, with the two of them, and she's in a wheelchair. I'm like, okay. You could tell she had had some like procedure done, find out she had the aneurysm or stroke, or so she gets to get on the membership now. And
Mm.
so this is more even just about an education piece. This is like this one just is the whole person, the whole family, the whole generational thing. But she started coming, okay. Then she gets out of her wheelchair and she's on using a walker. Well, she takes her walker. I'm not kidding. After class, every day that she came to class, and she'd walk. There's like a track at that Y, and she'd walk the track. Um, the little, and she would walk it with her walker. A few months later, she comes in. She's like, I'm doing yoga in the class over there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm doing the chair yoga, Miss Whitney. I say, oh my gosh, this little boy, we have some like outbursts, whatever. As months go by, like those things start going down too as well. She shows up, she has a cane. I'm like, oh my gosh, stop it. I'm like, no way. And so she's like, yeah, I'm just using a cane now. I'm going to yoga on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I come here every week. The son works out like every day there, plays basketball. And I don't know what dynamics were with the dad and the grandson. So to see them interacting in these classrooms was like so impactful for me. And then this last, I don't know, just a few weeks before I was leaving, one of my teachers called and said, Miss So and so left her cane at class. And I said, okay, I'll call her. I got her phone number. So I texted her, called her. Um, I don't know if she never went back and got her cane. I'm not really sure, but I went to class to like say my farewells, and this lady did not have a cane anymore. She's out walking the track, doing what she does, her yoga. So this is, and then grandson is like in preschool now, thriving, so smart, like doing all these things, but just seeing like the whole family be impacted. Dad showed up and brought the two that they have two kids and brought them to the dance that we had on Saturday, and just like he was dancing with them and just seeing families, because it's with phones and things like that, it's hard to see people like really interacting with their kids anymore sometimes. And so to see it, to see like the whole family be just impacted by the program and just by a free membership, oh, it was just, that touched my heart. It was nothing that I did, or it was just that they showed up and this granny wanted to do the work for her son and her grandson. And now she's, I don't know, that's just one of my favorite stories. And I don't know if that,
No, I love it. And I love it. Thank you so much. That is so powerful. And and I know you said I didn't do anything, but I just think about like, okay, you all were running that program, right? There was this place, there was this space, an opportunity,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That you or whomever created it, through this vehicle of the YMCA for this family to come and get more than what they expected. And then you got to see the progression in all ways, in all sorts of ways. Granny, dad, son, I mean, like everybody getting beyond what they needed.
yeah,
The holistic, which is what you were talking about that you'll be doing at the state level. So
yeah.
that's so good. That's great. So kind of in that same vein, like what is a powerful lesson that you've learned? Maybe, or maybe one, it's probably a bunch. Like you could do a top 10 or probably like a top 100. Like lesson that you've learned from working with families, or maybe even looking at that particular family that you like hold dear to your heart.
Mm. I get so emotional, but kids are so resilient. And when I was in Mississippi, these kids were, I mean, one of my students uh, got shot through the window. He survived, but I witnessed these kids go through so much. And it was such a culture shock to me. It really was. It wasn't like Frankfort, Kentucky at all. But at the same time, I lost my dad when I was in Mississippi. He committed suicide. I had found him. Big testimony for like part of my life. And I was able to go back and teach one more year there because these kids, and it's the same in the programs I run now, these families and these children are so resilient and they have gone through so much sometimes, and handed such a different life than I was handed. And they just get up and they come and they would come to school and they would hug me and they would love me. And I didn't deserve any of that. They could have, like these kids could have just been so down, like so depressed and sad, and they weren't, and they would come to music class and be so excited, and just we had drums and just play the drums, and they would go outside and they just play. And I think that's where all of my like love for life was ignited, was really started mostly in Mississippi, because I saw these babies who, man, some of them were given the worst hand is what it seemed like. And they would be, and I went to church and they'd be praising the Lord, like dancing. And so I guess For me, it's just my lesson that I learned from them that I would give to others is just like no matter what's going on, like God is going to take care of it. And I've watched that happen in my life. I've been through some traumatic things myself, and He has used every single bit of it. And I could be like just out here moping around, but we have a choice. We have a choice, and I hope that that's what my life gives to others is like you have a choice to jump off the waterfall or sit on the side or at least swim in it or put your toes in, but you have a choice to like really embrace whatever life God's given you and live it to the fullest and in like the best ways and be grateful for the things that you have. So my students taught me all of that, children, but that's what I would give to other people is like just we have a choice and it's all in our mind a lot of times. Um, and even when it's not, like even when outwardly things are really hard, we still have a choice to believe that God's going to see us through it and that it's going to be okay. And that most importantly, that He's going to use it like that time in the wilderness, He will use. And He does. He does. Yeah.
So how has and is he using that time? Because you mentioned, yeah, you've been, and we all have, and you've been through some things. I mean, even what you just shared about finding your dad when he committed suicide. How has that shaped, who you are now, and how are you using that?
Mm. You just don't know where people's minds are. My dad was my best friend. So I was in Mississippi at the time, but he did call me every day that week. And so I knew things were off, but you just never know. And thank God I didn't say anything crazy to him, but you never know where people are. And I really carry that around in my heart because tomorrow might really be their last day. And not only that, but like they might be in a place where they don't want to be here. And so you don't ever want your last words. And I hate walking around like that. But then again, it's like, I don't know. God's used it in a way that I get to be soft with people and empathetic in a way that I wasn't before. So He's used it and helped me grow in a positive way from something that was not great at all. But it just helps. I don't know. I just have been able to extend grace in a so much of a different way. Because like I said, our minds can do Satan can do some crazy things and get in our minds and have us really messed up. And so I don't know, I just walk around and make sure that I'm careful of what I'm saying to people and try to bring the light or like the excitement or the joy or whatever it is just in case. And there's never anything that's going to be wrong with that because I beat myself up sometimes about that. But no, like
So good.
it's like be yourself and bring the light to those people who because I know there are women especially who have said like, "Oh yeah, I come off as annoying or too much." Girl, no. Somebody needed that. And I'm really talking to myself too a little bit, but like I do that because you just never know where somebody is at.
That's so good. There's nothing wrong with bringing joy.
No, and
No,
we tell ourselves we let Satan tell us that there is something wrong with
not
that.
to dim down or, like you said, I'm annoying to. No, there's nothing wrong with
No.
are because that's how he has created us. Ah, thank you. That blessed me.
Oh,
That
good.
blessed me. Okay, so what are you looking forward to in this new role? What
Mm,
are some of the things that you're looking forward to?
girl, I haven't had a job since teaching, and teaching is not a job you come home and you're off. I haven't had a job where I'm off at 4 o'clock. So I don't want to like I'm not hating on my current last job, and I'm not saying that this job's easy. But I think God is gonna I am so bad at sitting still. And so God is going to use this. And this is why I fought him. I said, no, God, I am not doing a desk job. I'm not doing it. I don't care how much money you pay me. Um, but it's going to give me space and time to like, my goal for this year is emotional maturity and self-awareness. Just really like leaning into that. And then like, what does God say about me? So having time and space to do that, it's going to be huge for me. So that's what I'm most excited about. It's just time that I didn't have before because I was on call 24/7 in my last position. So it'll just be different. That's what I'm looking forward to, and just impacting people at a different way. This is just a different way, and I get to learn. And I haven't. I started up this last program at the Y and like took it on, and
Mhm.
I didn't really learn from anyone because I was creating it as we went, and so I get to learn from people and um, have a team. It's gonna just be really cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Nothing like having that time.
I don't even know what that's like.
Well, you're in it now, like literally this week. And you're gonna like I need to talk to you in like 2 months. I'm like, Whitney, what's up? Like, how's that time, girl?
It's crazy. I went to therapy this week, and already I'm like I started already like getting things like understanding things at a greater level because I've had time to like sit on them or journal more, be with God more. So like as much as I was fighting him, there's a purpose in this that is far greater than just the job.
Yes.
So,
So good. And I love that. Well, like you said, you have the time and space to to make those connections and talk with him.
yeah,
And he's just so good, right?
yeah,
Like he's just so good. And he's always
yeah,
giving and able to do exceedingly and abundantly. One of my favorite scriptures, Ephesians 3:20, exceedingly and abundantly above all that we ask or even imagine, because he knows what we need.
yes,
So, like I need to gift Whitney this time, right? And with the work that you're going to be doing at a greater
yeah,
level of impact,
yeah,
you know.
yes, yeah. It's all. I'm getting my master's in public administration, and I kept saying like, how is this? Because I prayed on it, and that one was just the one that was like really resonating with me. And I'm like, I don't really know how this is gonna work out. Like, yeah, I would love to write policy one day for education, maybe. How are we ever gonna get there? God, I'm at the YMCA. Come on. And then this showed up. I'm like, I'm done with you. You're too good. Yeah. So God is like, He blows my mind every day.
Yes, and you're open to it. He's like, man, that's my daughter, and she's got
No.
this awareness. Let me just go ahead and pour it out.
But you know what? For those people who feel like they don't have the awareness, it came with making a lot of mistakes. So if you're in a season of that, one day you'll be like, all right, I'm going to listen because I didn't 22 other times.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That is so.
So, because like you had to, I think for me, if I would have not listened to those multiple times and then like had to go through what I went through from not listening, I wouldn't realize the importance of listening now. So even when I don't want to, like, no, girl, you need to.
Yes, yes, he brings
Yeah.
it so good. Well, sis, for my sis who is listening and watching to this, you are learning and hearing Whitney's experience, right? So there's some things that you can catch, like, okay, I need to slow down. I want to slow down so I can reflect on what has happened and how I'm to move forward. So you don't have to make the 22 mistakes, which really aren't mistakes, right? Like his perspective is like, I use that too. So was it
Yeah.
really, because mistake has its connotation, right? It's negative, right? But
Yeah.
you're learning from it, right? And he
Mhm.
helps you do that. So,
Yep.
so good. Okay. I think this might be my last question, maybe, or a couple, maybe two more.
Okay.
How do you stay joyful and adventurous,
Mm.
right? In the midst of difficult seasons, or if you have a lot going on. And I know you have this new role, but you're also in school and you also are married, right? You have an amazing husband. And so how do you, what's your thing, like to remain joyful? Um, yeah, and
Um,
the challenging.
it's definitely using for me using God's creation to go out and do experiences. So I know that I'm just an experiential person, so I need to go do
Yeah,
something to feel better. So I will actually like we'll plan a date that's adventurous, go to like Natural Bridge and hike or stay for the weekend or whatever. Like I need to do things in nature or experiences like we went and made candles. Something that's like just where I'm moving. So I know I need to be doing that to stay joyful.
yeah,
It when I get to a place and I'm just only thinking about work, I'm only like thinking about self awareness. I almost get disconnected from God a little bit. And because he shows me himself a lot in my experiences. So I just keep the experiences coming. So people are like, dang girl, you must be rich. I'm like, I'm not, but I know how important that is for me and my walk with the Lord. So like if it's a trip that I need to take, God will help me fund it.
yeah.
And sometimes I've done it
Totally
in a
believe.
selfish way, but it's important for me. And then my testimony has told me time and time again since I've been a kid that it's gonna be better than okay,
Mm,
like way better than okay.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, I can speak on our marriage and he's okay with that. But when we first got married, I thought, God, I can't do this. I
mm,
can't. This man is so different than me. Like he follows all the rules. He's a safety nut. Like I can't do this. It's very serious sometimes, and so marriage has showed me and that and then like loss of my dad, just different things like God will work it out and it will be better, right? And so and I know people say that in their testimony all the time, but my marriage is better than what I could have imagined now.
yeah,
And it needed all the mess that we went through to get to where we are. So how do I stay joyful? It is knowing that everything that I've gone through, he's turned it for the better and better than I could have imagined. So I like there's no fear, and that's where the adventurous part of me comes from. And I wrote that down actually in my notes. Like I think because I've been a lover of Jesus since I've been a kid, and um, I just haven't had fear since I've been a kid in a way that some other people would. That's how I can jump off waterfalls and be a raft god.
yeah.
And I know that like I know you're supposed to be smart, so everyone be smart. Um, but like I'm not fearful of death. I'm not fearful of whatever circumstances going on most of the time. Like things have definitely wrecked me, but um I'll be all right tomorrow and it's like it's going to be I just know that everything's always going to be okay and I can firmly and confidently say that.
So good. So good, Whitney Jude. I'm about to say Gaines, but Gaines is your maiden.
Yeah, and I didn't change it for like 4 years, so I just didn't feel like it.
Glad I see Jude on the Zoom. So I'm like, because I was ready to say Whitney Gaines at the very
It's fine. I literally just changed it this 2024, so
beginning.
yeah. I'm a very stubborn person and yeah, I want to do it. But then I decided I needed to.
You did. Okay, that's so good. If you could leave, or could you leave our listeners and viewers with just like one piece of advice? Like, her renewed mind is about encouraging and empowering women, right, to hone in on or agree with their identity and be and do who and what God has called them to be and do. And like you're living that out, right? Like we talked about that at the very beginning. It's been woven throughout our conversation. Um, you know, you're resolute and confident in what you need. And you again live life out loud. So I guess what's one more piece of advice you would give a sis who's listening, like, man, Whitney is out here doing her thing. How can I find my
Mhm.
thing and do my thing too?
I think what I wish I knew 10 years ago is that I wish somebody would have, and people did say this to me. And so we have a choice to listen and not listen, but like you can, like you might be in the season where you're still figuring out God's voice or what you need or just what works for you. And I would be so hard on myself and get so down and just so like, ugh. But I don't know. I just wish someone would have said, like, it's going to be okay. And we can't see our future, but God knows our future. He has a promise for us. I don't know, just get in the word. Like your promises, those promises are in the word, and things were revealed to me when I was younger that are I'm seeing now 10 years later. And so I guess just keep praying, be in the word. God will reveal things to you and you won't see them for 10 years and you will get frustrated and for me, I want people to know like I wasn't always like this. I have lived my life in all the worldly ways. Um, and so if you're there, like you don't have to stay there. And all those things that God is telling you, you know, like He's going to see it through. And I don't know, you just got to stay focused and be, for me, it's just like you got to be in the Word and stay prayed up. That was just super important for me to stay like focused when I was going through my tougher times.
So good. He's faithful. And he said he's better than it's going to turn out better than okay.
It is. It is. So all those girls struggling right now, like it's gonna be, mm, like we know, like I don't know, and when I'm 50, it's gonna be even better, I think. So
Yes. Yes. It good.
yeah,
I'm saying those sayings that I used to hear in churchisms or whatever. Like it gets sweeter and sweeter.
it really does, but you don't realize it when you're in the battle or whatever it might be. Like I don't know, just believe what God is telling you, because I got words from Him. I
Yeah.
really did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I just would be like, whatever, I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Mhm.
Man, just believe those words and like, I don't know, live them out. Yeah.
So good. So good. Thank you, Whitney. You
Thank
are
you.
bomb. And
You're the
thank you
bomb.
so much for, it's like you had to say yes to this position just the way that it fell into your lap, right? Like how he orchestrated it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it was you, and I just look forward to what's to come through that department, right? Through the work that you and your team will be doing for our state. So thank you for being of service.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
So good. So how can, if anybody wants to connect with you or find out more about the work that's going on in your department through the state, how can they connect with you in that department?
Just find me on Facebook or Instagram.
Perfect.
Um, yeah. I mean, I guess they could send me an email if they would like. Yeah. And I'm still around the Y a little bit here or there doing some part time stuff. So you can catch me there too. So, but Facebook, social media is, I'm not a Twitter lady, but you can
Okay.
find me on Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. And if people have questions about like best spot to go jump off into a waterfall, then you could
I
like
got you. You want to go on a rafting trip? I got you.
she got you off. You're ready to, be adventurous or a little bit more adventurous than you are. Whitney can help you.
Yeah, I'll take it easy on newbies.
Yes, please, 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 please. Thank you again so much. And sis, thank you so much for tuning in. Definitely leave a review. Let us know what resonated with you as you were listening to Whitney pour out and share her story, share a little bit of her testimony. And we appreciate you. And until next time, peace.